With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour being brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV, and also Medicare products. I know Steve Engel took great care of me. He'll take great care of you. It's all at Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. It is always a pleasure to be joined by the voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Rob King. Rob, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Steve, thanks very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, before I get to the Steelers, I had to laugh. Paul Skenes gave up a career-high 7 hits last night. A career-high 7. Most pitchers give up 7 hits, and they're doing a cartwheel into the clubhouse.
Yeah.
What kind of joy is it for you to watch this?
Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so good. I've never seen anybody like him. I mean, I can't wait to watch his career progress. He's not only unbelievably talented, but he has the intangibles to an almost ridiculous degree. The competitive drive, the hard work, the ability to get better, the ability to feel pitches, things that don't happen for most young guys. We're talking about guys that are, that get to 27, 28, 29 in their career and learn how to set hitters up, learn how to get the feel and the focus. He already does that stuff with an arsenal that is, it's hard to think of any comparisons for me that I've ever seen with that kind of arsenal.
All right, now to the Steelers. I want to ask you just on a personal and professional part of this. I mean, I know when I get ready, there's 105 guys on the roster, but I pretty much know, which 40 to 50 guys on each team are going to play. You've got these preseason games where the guys that you would count on playing rarely are going to play. If they do, it's going to be very little. How do you prepare for that many guys in a game that a lot of people don't know about?
So how do I know that Branson Combs is number 50 for Jacksonville, their fourth-string linebacker?
Pretty much.
It's like anything else in life, Steve. You put in the work. And so, think back to when you were in school. That's one level of study. Teacher says, hey, we have a big midterm test. We're going to do everything from the first 8 weeks of class, and you better know it. Well, then you put in more work, and that's right. That's really all there is to it. Now, that having been said, I'll be more reliant on a spotter, I'm sure, this week. The names, I feel like it's the old, one person gets in better. That's that old song, roll over, and one falls out. I feel like every time I remember Branson Combs is number 50, another name from Jacksonville's roster is going to drop out of my head. Yeah. There's only so much room up there. But it's all fun. As you know, I mean, I think every part of this job is a joy, and I actually like looking at rosters and trying to memorize them and coming up with maybe a little nugget or two for the players. I enjoy the process. Yeah,
no, I'm with you. I love the process, as a matter of fact.
But the problem with college that you don't get as much in the pros, you get it early in camp, is that you might have 2 number 37s or 2 number 46s, and you're like, who made the tackle on special teams there? Which 37 was that for the other team or our team? So you don't usually get that in the pros.
Yeah, now that You do get the duplicates, and so you do have to make sure who's, what, where, and why. And it comes into play on special teams. Which number 12 is the guy that recovered the onside kick?
Exactly.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so Mike Tomlin always has his approach. How does he want to approach the opener? And a lot of people were wondering, when do we see Aaron Rodgers? Do we see him in this game like Joe Burrow played last night, or is it maybe week 2?
It might be week 1 of the regular season.
Okay.
He was asked that, and I don't know if we're going to see Aaron Rodgers or not. I have no idea. I don't. He's ruled out of this game. He won't play in this game.
Right.
He may not play at all. I don't know. I don't know and a lot of that's probably going to be a back and forth between the two and a comfortability level with Aaron. And does he want to get out there and feel the game, or does he, at this point of his career, not feel like he really needs to do that? I think that the big thing is they want to make sure that he's healthy. And you see him in practice, and he appears to have tremendous command of the offense already. So I don't think they're really worried about all that stuff. He will not play tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he played in the next couple weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see him until they play the Jets.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. I mean, look, it's not as if he hasn't been around the block.
Right.
So he's been there and he's done it before. When you look at least the preseason, are they developing a rapport, receivers, running backs, with their quarterback?
Yes, they are. And, there's always there. You're trying to read the tea leaves in practice. Hey, who does he really like? Who are the guys that that he really feels most strongly about? Again, that's all interpretative at this stage of the game, and so I don't think we can read too much into what we see as far as that's concerned. But yeah, he's getting that. I think it's safe to say he's already getting that feeling with the receivers, and he's out there taking charge and telling guys how they should be doing this or that or the other thing. And so he's never shy about letting people know, hey, listen, I want you doing this as opposed to that. So yes, I think that rapport is developing for sure.
Okay, some of the younger players with this team. I'm thinking about, first of all, Johnson, the running back from Iowa, who always impressed me there. Where is he right now with this group, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're listing him right now. The initial depth chart is third behind Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. And, it's an interesting question, and I started thinking about this, Steve, as I was watching the team. There have been a lot of people in recent years, media types, that have said, look, this team would be better with Jalen Warren getting the ball a lot more. Now, Jalen Warren was hurt last year, did not have his best year. Obviously, the Steelers felt like the best way to go was Najee Harris as a lead horse and Jalen Warren as a change of pace back. I don't know whether, it'll be interesting to see how that works, especially early on in the season. They drafted Kaleb Johnson for a reason, that having been said, and that reason is, you would think, to be the new lead back. Big physical guy who, once he gets going, has some good top-end speed. Ran in an Iowa offense where they knew he was going to be running the football. So, listen, I'm intrigued to see him. He had a nice introduction to the NFL with their backs-on-backers drill. So the running backs line up, and it's a big focal point of practice. They square off the lines. You can't go outside of certain lines. And the defensive player gets a running start, and the running back's got to block him. And it's a drill that probably favors the defensive player a little bit. Well, Kaleb had his issues in the first one, but by the time he did it again, he'd gotten a little bit better. He's one of those guys that I think you can tell he really wants to be good. He has a very high floor, and I think the Steelers think he has a pretty high ceiling as well.
Yeah, because you and I both know that in this league, there's a lot of talented guys that can play. It's what you can do without the ball. Right, that's going to determine, that separates you, and that's what he's trying to do there. Defensively, the fit of Ramsey, the fit of others on this defense without Minkah Fitzpatrick. What do you think about that to this stage?
I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. I mean, when you think about what they've done with their secondary, really their whole roster. I was going through the roster with Max Starks on our show in the locker room, and you know, by the time I got to the defensive backs, I already had 19 guys that I thought the Steelers should keep or could keep. Well, they're not keeping only 6 defensive backs. You know, this is a very, very deep roster, and I think that defensive backs are a great example of that. You know, Beanie Bishop led the team in interceptions. Well, now he's on your second team.
Right.
Corey Trice is a guy they really like, have really liked his talent. Once again, a hamstring injury. I don't know what that's going to mean for Corey because, you know, one of their under-the-radar signings was Juan Thornhill, you know, a very good, solid safety. So you brought him in, and I'm not saying that made Minka expendable, but it made that trade easier. By the way, let's not forget Jonnu Smith coming back in that trade with 88 catches last year for Miami, and should help the Steelers a lot, probably in an H-back or slot role. But Jalen Ramsey, I mean, he is impressive. He and Slay, not only do they bring the pedigree to the back end, and let's face it, you want to have all pros at every position. But if you're picking a defense, there's a reason corners get paid so much, because it is an incredibly important position. Well, the Steelers have a guy they really feel good about in Joey Porter Jr., who's going to be going into his third year in the league, and perennial-type all-pros in Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey. I mean, that's a totally different look to your defense. Will it mean they can blitz more and try to lock guys down in man coverage, bring some more heat in different ways? You know, they drafted Derek Harmon, who they identified as the best interior pass rusher, not only a run stuffer, but a pass rusher. You know, I think that these, as you know, Steve, you know, it's a trickle-down effect in football. You know, an outside edge rusher helps the guy inside of him, helps the corner in coverage because now they have to keep somebody in. Well, that's what these corners are going to do. I think they can have an effect on the entirety of the defense.
Travis Hunter will play in this game. How interested? Yeah, and that's my question. How interested are you to see how they want to use him both ways? Because look, I know he's listed as second-team corner right now, but everybody knows people are playing slot corners and sub packages these days. So how interested are you in his usage?
I'm fascinated. I mean, he's, you know, they went up and got him. They traded up to get him with the number 2 overall pick. He's a guy that they obviously feel is a one-of-a-kind, two-way player. You know, I was talking to Frank Frangie, their play-by-play guy, and he said, look, potentially this trio of receivers, Nate Smith and McCardell back in the day, but as a trio of receivers, this could potentially be the best trio of receivers Jacksonville's ever had. You know, Trevor Lawrence is going through his 4th head coach, his 3rd offensive coordinator, really good in year 2. The last 2 years weren't as great. You know, there's a lot expected of him and his weapons. I mean, you talk about Brian Thomas Jr. was incredible last year, a Pro Bowler as a rookie. Now you add Travis Hunter. You go out and sign De'Ami Brown, who began to break through a little bit last year with the Commanders. You know, they've got a lot of weapons, and Hunter on defense. Look, their defense is that's a big problem. It's a big reason that there's a new coaching staff in there. Their defense was not very good. I think it was the worst in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I do think Hunter's going to play a lot. I think he's a fascinating player. I think he elevates what they can do offensively, and he's, you know, he's a stud on defense too. He's a fascinating guy. I think they thought in trading up they were kind of getting 2 players. He played Frank Frangie said he played 150 snaps in Colorado, offense and defense. They have more snaps in college than they do in the pros. 150 snaps. He's doing that at 5,260 feet. He's doing that a mile high up.
I know.
I mean, now you got the heat in Jacksonville. I understand that, but wow, I can't. I am fascinated to watch him play. Fascinated.
The Steelers' offensive line. The key parts that were out last year. How do you like the way that's coming together, at least early in camp?
You know, I think if we've been kicking this around a little bit, I think if you were to identify 2 areas on the team that have fans a little concerned, I can't speak for the team internally, it would be that receiver behind DK Metcalf. We saw when George Pickens got hurt last year, there really wasn't a guy to elevate. They don't need another guy opposite of Metcalf. What they need more than that is a guy who can emerge if Metcalf is injured, right? So if he's out, boy, there's who elevates to your number one receiver. Last year it was a problem. They're not going to with Jonnu Smith and others. I think they're just fine at the receiver position. So that's one area that fans worry about. The other is offensive line. I mean, you're moving Broderick Jones from right tackle to left tackle. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why they drafted him, but that's a big concern. Fautanu had won the right tackle spot from Jones last year, but then got hurt, and he basically missed the entire year. So you really have kind of a rookie at right tackle. And then they do have Spencer Anderson's a really nice depth piece on the inside. They're trying to figure out, and Ryan McCollum could come in and play center for you. But I think they're trying to figure out the depth at the tackle position, and mostly whether those frontline guys can handle it, and if they can't, or if there's injury, what happens after that. I think that if you're looking at the Steelers, that's probably among Steeler Nation the one area where they're like, how's that going to work out this year?
We all know that Cam Hayward has been the Rock of Gibraltar. We know that Chris Boswell has been incredibly dependable along the way. They both would like to get a little bit more money. How's the Steeler Nation reacting to it?
Yeah, I honestly, Steve, I don't really pay that much attention to that. I mean, I know that, you're scrolling through X or whatever, and this person saying, you got to pay him, and that person saying, you just signed a new contract. Yeah. Look, the team will deal with that. I do know this. Chris Boswell is, he's incredible. Kicking in those conditions and with that kind of consistency, that kind of clutch ability. And Cam Hayward, a year ago, look, Father Time catches up to everybody. And a year ago, there was a lot of, he's over the hill. Should they give him a new contract? That was the talk last year. Remember, Steve? And then all of a sudden he goes out and has another Pro Bowl type year. And so now they should pay him more. Oh, they shouldn't pay him more. So, look, I think both guys, and this was a statistic that Matt Williamson, who does a fabulous job with stats and is part of the Steelers radio network, Steelers audio network, told me. He said when Cam Hayward was on the field last year, the Steelers were number 2 in the NFL in yards per rush. When he wasn't on the field, they were 31st.
Yeah.
So that underscores just how important Cam Hayward is.
Yeah. Everybody knows he's important. And we know how important Boswell is. I don't blame either one for asking for more. That's fine. Right? And you go from there. Rob, off and running. First of a lot. So have a great time with it, and always appreciate any time you give us. You're the best.
We love having I love the fact you had me on your show, Steve. Thanks very much. I always appreciate being on.
Thanks, Rob. The great Rob King, the play-by-play voice of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've got Jacksonville in the preseason opener. And we'll come back with more in a moment. Brought to you by Purdy Insurance here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is, because it's Brewers Outlet time. The Beverage Supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Summer's winding down, but the deals are heating up at Sunbury Motors Ford on North 4th Street in Sunbury. Get back to school in style. Save up to $6,800 on the fuel-efficient 2025 Ford Escape. Now priced as low as $24,975. Great for the morning carpool, but hurry, only a few left. Need more room for backpacks and gear? From 46 new Ford Explorers, slashed up to $6,200, starting at just $36,935. Or go big with America's favorite, over 60 new 2025 Ford F-150s, discounted up to $13,000, now starting at $45,544. And yes, 0% financing is available on many models. Race in the fall at Sunbury Motors Ford, North 4th Street in Sunbury, or visit sunburymotors.com.